This feature story is brought to you by Atlantic Insurance and Brothers Habet Limited.
Season's greetings from all of us at Atlantic Insurance, wishing you the gift of faith, the blessing of hope, and the wonder of this holiday season at Christmas and in the new year. This holiday season, whether you're in the driver's seat or walking down the street, always respect the rules of the road. Do not speed, do not drink and drive. Drive safely and enjoy this holiday season with your loved ones. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you and your family from all of us at Atlantic Insurance.
Don't know what to get the special someone for Christmas? Habet and Brothers Habet have you covered this Christmas.
Season greetings. Hey Dad, remember the shelves you made to tell me about? Yo, Corey, you got anything to make us saw? Hey guys, your favorite saw daddy here. Back with a brand new saw from Brothers Habet. My wife got this for me for Christmas. The saw man is here.
All month long, give the gift of power with 15% off all power tools, 15% off all decorative paints, 15% off all sunlight windows and doors, 20% off all mirrors, and 15 to 60% off Westinghouse and Design House light fixtures. Plus, with every $50 you spend, you get a chance to win a $500 gift certificate every day in our big 12 Days of Christmas giveaway. So come in today and save big. A merry and safe Christmas from the family at Habet and Brothers Habet.
Yo, Jamrock, saw through anything right now.
As we approach the end of this year, 2022, we want to really reflect on what has happened. At the start of this year, we were still recovering from the pandemic and what a time that was. And now we're mostly back to normal, and that's such a great thing. And as Christians, we love to reflect, we love to examine what has happened so that we can find God's grace, God's presence, God's love throughout what has happened, so that we can see our failings, so that we can improve. And so contemplating on this, reflecting, it's really a part of our Christian identity and heritage. And what's a better thing to do at the end of the year than to have a top 5? And today I'll present to you our favorite stories from this year from the team at Guadalupe Media. These are our top 5 favorite feature stories from this year. Each of them speaks to the love of God in our lives. And the first one that I'll be talking about is caring for our common home. And this one was certainly a highlight for the year and a very interesting one. It feels very much like a personification of Laudato Si, which was Pope Francis's, basically his first encyclical that he wrote completely by himself, because his first encyclical he basically finished what had already started with his predecessor. And it's also in line with the universal apostolic preferences that the Jesuits discerned over a period of 2 years. Felt that the Holy Spirit guided them, and with the stamp of the Holy Father, they felt that the Holy Spirit was calling them to really collaborate in the care of our common home. And we really see this in that story. So protecting the environment, protecting the biodiversity in our environment, it's something that we as Christians might not necessarily see explicitly as something that we should care about. And I think that in these organizations, they are really living out the faith in that regard. It's not very much what you'd think of as a religious story, but yet it is. It's really in line with the social teachings of the church. And so if we can find God, if we can find our faith in things like this, it's a very beautiful thing. And so that's part of why we really enjoyed that story this year. And the next story that really spoke to us from this year was one titled Inspiration for Aspiring Families with Dr. Matthew Moore. And something that I really loved about this story is that it took place during what we call the Family Month, we celebrate here. And you know, in this society, the family, which is the fundamental building block of society, I feel, and I think a lot of Christians can see this, it's really neglected. And especially in Belize, we see that there's a lot of broken families, you know, single mothers, or families that aren't really living up to what Christ has called for us. And so in this feature story, we see Dr. Moore. He has such a beautiful and vivid understanding of the family that Christ wants us to have. And he calls upon the verse from Ephesians 5 where it compares the husband and wife to Christ and the church. And in this society, a lot of people tend to have somewhat of a negative connotation towards Ephesians 5, as it speaks about the wife being submissive to the husband. But the thing is that we need to have an appreciation for roles. And so in this case, Christ tells the wife to be submissive to the husband, but this isn't a dictatorial role. This doesn't give the husband free rein to do whatever it is he wants. And you know, the husband has a responsibility, as is talked about in this story, and the husband is called to love the wife as Christ loves the church. And so hearing this in, you know, media, it's something that's really needed, because somehow the headship of the husband in the household is somewhat controversial. I'd say that fatherhood, quite frankly, is under attack, especially in the international world. And so in this story, Moore really showcases the importance and the role of that fatherhood. He describes that role as walking the donkey, like Joseph did when Christ was an infant, when they were fleeing to Egypt. He gives these very beautiful and vivid descriptions, and especially like when he talks about the decision of the wife to the children, that the father must back the decision of the wife to give this weight, and it shows this unity among the family, and it also shows this fulfillment of our baptismal promises, imitating Christ as priest, prophet, and king within the family. And so also we see that the head of the household, which is the father, it doesn't end there, as the father must follow Christ. And so in this way, he is leading the entire family spiritually. He's leading them as a Christian. And so this feature story in many ways was a breath of fresh air. I love it. I love it so much, and I'm sure that everyone here at Guadalupe Media found that story very inspirational as well. And so the third story is the Mother of Mercy Montessori. And this is a new preschool. It's right next to the Divine Mercy Church. It's a new venture, and it's really different from the traditional school setting that you'd expect. And when I watched it for the first time, it was really amazing to see their method, it's so different than the typical school in Belize. Like, they observe what the child is interested in, and then they start with that and then bring in everything else later. And you can really see this love for the children. It's a very beautiful environment, and even the room itself is a very beautiful room. And it's amazing that Catholics are really investing in schooling, because something that we see in Belize is that a lot of our Catholics who go to Catholic schools, they're baptized a Catholic, they get their first Holy Communion, they are confirmed a Catholic, and then what happens? They leave their primary school. In high school, they kind of fall away from the faith, they're a bit shaky, they leave high school. What I think is really necessary are good fundamentals. And this new preschool venture really does that. You can really see how they're invested in their faith, and how they're also invested in learning things. And if we focus on the young people, if we focus on children from their youth to have this love for their faith and to really believe and to really understand, then our society will slowly change. And so this is a very important story for that reason. And I really hope that this new venture grows. I really hope that we can see this flourish into something that can change the Belizean society. How could we compile a list of our favorite stories of the year without talking about the farewell to Tessa? So, as many of you might be aware, Tessa was the former news anchor for Guadalupe Media. And before she left for a long time, she was working at Guadalupe Media, writing stories, filming, coming up with ideas. And she was very on fire with the faith, that's what I could say. It's very rare for a young person such as Tessa to really be on fire with the faith, and I always use that phrase because that's exactly what it is. You could bring up any particular topic to Tessa, and Tessa would be more than enthusiastic to talk about that, to speak about her love for Christ, for the Blessed Mother, for the Church. In my initial phase moving towards Catholicism, one of the hardest things for me to accept were the different dogmas about Mary, about the different apparitions and so forth. And talking with Tessa really allowed me to see the importance of Mary, Mother of God, in the lives of Catholics and lives of all Christians. Tessa had an immense love for Mary, and she shared that with everybody who she spoke to. She was never apologetic about it. That's not something you see a lot today. And so she, in many ways, is a treasure. And so she left Guadalupe Media some months ago to pursue her studies in the USA. And so we wish her the best in that regard, and we hope that she will come back to Belize and build our country. Kudos to her for her excellent work. Interestingly, my personal favorite story for this year was We Cry, Abba Father, A Journey to Sonship. And this is the only one on this list that I had a part in. But what I really love about the faith is how deep it is, and how, if we look back into history, into the early church, we can see how these early Christians thought about things, how they worshipped, and it's a very rich and interesting history, and it's honestly one of my favorite parts of being a Catholic. And so when I was asked to write something about the Lord's Prayer, learning about these things, learning about how the early Christians felt about the Lord's Prayer, to them, the Lord's Prayer, because it came straight from the mouth of Jesus, this was something so holy that at a certain point, certain people wouldn't even allow unbaptized people to say the prayer. And the Lord's Prayer is a very ecumenical prayer as well. People of different denominations, we all love the Lord's Prayer, so it's really a point of unity among Christians. And the parts that were recorded by Father David, they really spoke to me, especially when he talks about saying the Lord's Prayer backwards. I had never thought about this before, but it's a really rich experience. And in my own personal prayer life, I've started to implement this to some degree. The Lord's Prayer is something that everybody knows. It's something that we all pray. It's something that might seem simple, but it's a very deep prayer. And it might even be the greatest prayer. Those were our 5 favorite feature stories from this year. And so to end the year, even though we're still in the season of Advent, I want to wish everybody on behalf of the team here at Guadalupe Media a Merry Christmas season. As people who know me are aware, I really love Christmas. You can see my hat, I'm in a very festive mood. And so I hope that you all can really have a great time in this season, and that you can come closer to Christ as we await His arrival. Also, please note that the office will be closed from this Friday until January the 9th. And so for this entire period, everybody will be on vacation. We do not open up again until January 9th, 2023. Please keep that in mind. Once more, I wish you all a Merry Christmas, and this has been a Guadalupe Media production.
For this and more feature stories, you can follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or view on Guadalupe Media Channel 96 on CCV or Channel 64 on CBC. You can also tune in on the radio in your car, home, or office at 101.9 FM, and please be sure to download the Guadalupe Media radio app from Google Play or the App Store. Our Blessed Mother, lead us to Jesus.